right, I'd like to call this meeting of the planning board Village of Cold Spring to order. Big audience tonight. Thank you all for being here. I'm on the very last tail end of a daycare bug, so apologies for my voice. I might be relying on some of my other board members to do some of the more long-winded parts of this. So we can go ahead and get into it. So I don't think we actually have minutes to approve this week. So I think we can actually move on to our public hearing, which is our main business for the night, for 47 Carrot Street.
Can't hear you.
Was that?
You speak up.
Sorry. We're gonna move on to the main business of the evening, which is the public hearing for 47 Parrot Street. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
I move that we open the public hearing on 47 Parrot.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Would someone mind reading the notice of public hearing into the record?
Which one is that?
Right here. You can mostly, you can skip the URLs and,
okay.
and the,
You want this?
basically this, this
Okay.
part and this part, and then it's one right here.
Okay. Sure. Please take notice that the planning board of the Village of Cold Spring will hold a public hearing pursuant to section 134.1.16.1 of Village Law on Thursday, November 14, 2024 at Village Hall, 85 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, and via video conference beginning at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard on said day. Members of the public are invited to attend the meeting in person or via video conference. The planning board will consider the application by Ethan Tim at the Figure Ground Studio Architecture and Landscape Architecture, PLLC, for site plan approval pursuant to Chapter 134 of the Village Code. The applicant is proposing to establish an accessory apartment pursuant to section 134-17, section G. The subject property designated as 49.5-4-41 on the tax map is at 47 Parrot Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516 in the older residential neighborhood R-O district. The owners are Lika and Sam Zimmerman at 47 Parrot Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516. The planning board will consider all verbal and or written statements from all persons interested in the proposed application in the various manners described above. The planning board will also consider for further relief as it finds necessary.
Thank you.
Anything else you want me to?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Has the notice been timely published in the official newspaper?
Yes.
Okay. Has the applicant provided proof of mailing to affected parties?
Yes.
We've got that here. Okay. Has the village clerk received any comment by the public, whether in writing, email, or in person?
Yes, writing is included in your packet.
Even
Two emails, right?
Yes.
two,
Any additional, yeah.
where's the,
There's one right back.
got it.
And then one verbal,
One verbal.
yeah, well, earlier today.
Do we happen to have that written down?
No, but we have,
That's right. You were here verbally.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. And we'll look forward to hearing you here. Jonathan, I don't think, did we make the secret determination last time?
I believe we did, but either way, it's a type 2, so.
Okay. The board has previously determined that this was a type 2 action under seeker. Does not require any further environmental review. So with that, Abigail, do we have the packets from last time?
Yeah, we have revised, actually. You want the ones from last time or both?
Or, well, the revised would be great,
Mhm.
just to make sure the board members have something to look at while the applicant goes through.
Pass. You can too. I'll take the one side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then-
That I'd like the applicant to come up and kind of recount for the board the application and any, if you wouldn't mind, please point out any changes that have been made since the last time.
Sure.
We chatted.
Should I put, I have what you have in front of you, by Zoom. I don't know if that'd be helpful for everybody involved, everybody.
Sure.
Um,
Can you share your screen?
Is that saying?
I know I can.
Yeah,
I think this looks all different.
let me see if you.
Excuse me.
Oh, share, I see it.
One of the neighbor is texting me that they're trying to log in and they can't get it. They're in the city.
They can't get
We
into
can't
the
log
Zoom.
in.
Yes, they
Yeah.
can.
Do you have their name?
Yes.
Can you go and see if there's anyone waiting in the waiting room?
There doesn't seem to be anyone. Usually it comes up right here. Are we ready?
Can you ask them to try again?
Kathy? No, it's this.
Ish.
Okay.
Should we wait or should I start?
Are you asking them to try again?
Yes.
Abigail, if you just keep an eye on, see if any prompts come up. I think we can go ahead and we can jump into it.
Okay, hi everybody, my name is Ethan Tim. The drawings you have are essentially the same. Per your request, I had added some photographs and renderings and also just clarified the proposed height because that had come up the previous meeting. I know you read it into the record, but just to reiterate essentially that the proposed use is an accessory apartment allowed, my understanding is allowed by right with site plan approval. And then
Can you try to tell them in the meeting that the Zoom link that they have for people to dial in is not working and we have to be at this meeting? This is like, the Zoom link is not working.
We have a number of people who are attending through Zoom right now, so.
Can you tell them that we're having trouble? Like the Zoom is not working. The Zoom is not,
Can you tell, can you bring it over here?
the Zoom is not working.
Hi, this is Kevin McCrory. I'm a board member here. We have
Hi.
4 people on Zoom currently. So can you?
Yeah,
can-
we're
Yeah,
on the link,
yeah,
and
From the zoning board of appeals, the website.
the zoning board of appeals,
Oh, we're
we're
the
the planning, we're the
board.
planning board. This is not the
Oh,
zoning board, the board of appeals. Yeah, so once you go to that
Sorry
website,
about that.
there should be a link there.
Planning board.
Yeah, and we're holding off until you can get on here for a second.
thank you, sorry.
That's okay. Is there,
Okay,
no,
so
it's,
the
but it's,
No, no.
but the link is on the planning board.
Oh, there's somebody.
There we go.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you. Okay, I think we're gonna join.
Well,
We,
yeah.
we will have, public comment.
Well, the reason I'm asking the question, my name is Anthony Patnell, 40 Parrot Street. The reason I'm asking the question is because I was on the village board for many years, okay? And it's not the first time that someone has tried to put an accessory apartment on their building lot. And the law in the village of Cold Spring had always been, you can't have two living quarters on one parcel of land. In fact, when I was on the village board, I got sued personally, and the board got sued because we approved one, and then was actually the plaintiff won, and the apartment could not be used. So what now this gentleman, the architect, is saying that by law, you can do this, right? Well, how can we do this by law now? We changed the law?
We did. The entire code was rewritten a year and a half ago.
So in other words, myself, with my two-story barn, I could turn that into an apartment but I wouldn't even have to go before appeals, correct?
You would have to go before the planning board because it is turning something into an ADU is requires site plan review.
So I would have to do what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So I have I don't know if anyone, just for people's. If you haven't seen the new table, so we're in the RO zone, well, assuming, I know. The lot we're talking about at 47 Parrot is in the RO zone. And then you can see that the accessory apartment is permitted with, I believe SP means site plan approval. I guess I can go to the next, just to go, I'll get to the more interesting pictures, but I just wanted to really go through in terms of the zoning conformance. On the left side, you see the required zoning in terms of lot area, setbacks, etc. You can see that there for the most part on this lot, there's in terms of setbacks and max building coverage, we have in terms of what's that?
I just want to make sure that you guys can see this.
The thing is, it's attached to.
A paper copy of
Yeah, I
that
have-
too?
There's paper copies also.
This is gonna be important.
This way you can review
For
it.
some of the letters that you've written.
This is the same. This is the same as the paper.
Right, no, I understand, but.
You don't have a bigger drawing that you can lay out on the table so we can look at the whole thing?
That's what this is.
Too small.
Really.
Do you
Okay.
wanna look
This
at
is
the
that's what I have.
And let me ask you another question. My name is Roger.
We're not taking comment right now.
I'm not giving comment.
We're not.
No, we're not.
We're not taking question either. But we will in a second. There'll be time for it. I promise you. We'll reserve time for you.
So this is the same as it's what's in the paper copy. So you can see at this lot, there is for the most part existing conforming in terms of both the setbacks and the building coverage. And then what will be, I think is important here is that the minimum side setback at the accessory, which is kind of this beautiful stone garage, does have it is a non-conforming in the existing building, which is approximately 1.1 feet. In terms of the addition to that accessory that we're proposing, again, we're not proposing any addition to either any increase to the setback or any increase in the bulk at the place of that setback, which is per my understanding with zoning, that's essentially the requirement for dealing with existing non-conforming conditions. And in addition, there's a required parking spaces being which again is existing conforming, and with the addition existing would be required 1 spot, and with the proposed addition would be 2 required spots, and there are two spots, so that's also existing conforming. This is the existing house, just to give, because I think last time, if anyone hasn't been there, just to get an idea of what is currently there. And then this is kind of a view to get an idea of from the street. I know we're not in the historic district, but I just kind of go through this so you can kind of see, you can start to get a little view of that. That existing garage, and that's the view of it. It kind of has a really beautiful historic character, that, I know we're not in the historic district, but there's definitely an interest just because it has a particular character, on the site. So we're really interested in working with that. And that's just kind of an oblique view. That pool is existing, not part of this application. That's a side view. And again, really, there's per the proposed design, there's I guess I could go, sorry. I go back here. Per the proposed design, there's not no significant change other than these old garage doors wouldn't be functional, but we're proposing sort of a new construction, a new wall construction that would have the indication of it looking somewhat like that. So the character of the garage on the site would largely remain or be maybe even augmented. And that's a view from the rear. And this is kind of an existing detail that we're gonna plan to work with, mainly maintaining the roof detail and then replacing that old utility door with glazing. Just some more views of that. So this is the existing site. So this is what is currently on site, and so you can see the existing house and the existing garage and existing pool, with the required 5-foot setback. So you can see a slight encroachment that's existing on that garage, but we aren't increasing that. So this is the zoning conformance chart showing in hatched is all of the existing structures. In gray is the proposed addition, showing the 2 required parking spaces towards, there's one existing and one to the side. And this is showing that the addition is conforming to the required 5-foot side and rear setbacks that are in the current zoning code. This is sort of a zoom in to that, showing the existing 1'8" setback at that existing stone garage. There's just some. So I just wanted to show I thought I had a few. So yeah, I don't know why that did skip. I think so I apologize, I skipped a bunch. So here's the existing garage. The proposed accessory apartment, which is totally within that stone building, and like I mentioned, with sort of the front would maintain the character of the garage doors, mainly just to kind of preserve the integrity of the design, and then the addition fully within the setbacks, and then no change to the existing encroachment. I'm sorry, I keep on going to the end. That's my fault for lack of a good. I stopped pressing the wrong button. I apologize. All right. Okay, I'll get my finger off it. So. All right, where are we? I gotta let that catch up to me over time. Okay, so that's the proposed accessory apartment. And then some elevation. So this is the existing elevation, sort of stylized, but giving an idea of the bulk, the allowed height for an accessory is 15 feet. So the existing is under that at about 1410, and then for both. So and then the proposed addition. So this is, to be clear, these are elevations of the proposed accessory. So as you can see, the front is essentially, I'm not going to call it unchanged, but we're really working within the existing fabric. And then from at the rear, we are below that. The allowed is 15 feet, and the proposed is nestled within that at 14 feet approximately. And then from the side, again, you can see the existing garage essentially, I'm not gonna say unchanged, but working with with all the existing stone and roof fabric. We're really going to try to preserve the slate roof if possible, and then with the addition again towards the rear and with the lower height. This kind of gives a similar idea from the roof plan with preserving that slate roof and working within the bulk. These are sections. This is showing the 14-foot height. I'm sorry, 14'10" height of the existing structure, which again is below the 15-foot allowable. Just a few more sections through. These are some kind of bird's eye view renderings per your request to get an idea of how that accessory structure would fit behind the existing, and again kind of more of an oblique view from the side, showing on the left the existing structure and on the right the existing structure with the addition towards the rear. So I think I could leave it at that, and I just want to show I think this kind of explains it fairly clearly, but I did do sort of a similar, like that's the existing structure, and then the proposed, as mentioned, would kind of tuck behind. To the extent that it's relevant, and I think it came up at the last meeting, that the proposed use is an accessory apartment, and in this case is specifically for a family member, a parent, which I believe is, by reading the zoning code, is kind of the expressed desire for accessory apartments within the village, by allowing for intergenerational living, parents living with children and grandchildren. So I think that it's a clear example of the intended purpose of the zoning code.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
We're going to move on to the public comment period of the meeting. A couple things I'll note before we jump into it. Just because we have so many folks here, I want to give the room just a reminder of the function of the planning board, like what do we do here? How do we do it? The function of the planning board, is not to, interpret, the code or interpret it in ways that allow us to approve things that are not to code. We are bound by the code as written. Most of our action is about shaping valid site plans that are valid within the existing definitions of the code. So that is the kind of the bounds of our kind of discretionary power here, and the ways in which this public hearing is meant to allow us to get feedback from the public to help push an application in one direction or another that is otherwise meeting all the code requirements that are here. So that's the function of the planning board. That's what we're doing today. So if you're interested in making public comment here, a couple things. Please state your name and your address for the record. Your question should be addressed to the board and not the applicant. If the board thinks it would be helpful to have the applicant answer that question or a similar question, the board will ask the applicant and get and extract that answer. The board is not required to answer any particular question that's posed unless it's procedural in nature. And we're going to read the written comments into the record. So let's go ahead and read the written comments into the record.
Have this slide.
I, Carolyn Ricapito, am a resident at 53 Parrott Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516. I am against this plan at 47 Parrott for the following reasons. Overbuilding the space in a residential neighborhood. There is already an outbuilding in this yard, and the plan would double the space it takes up. If used as a rental or housing, allowing additional people to live or rent on the property would put stress on the parking, traffic, and add congestion to the street, which is already crowded. This added population of people and cars is ruining our country atmosphere. If this and other additions are allowed, the character of the neighborhood will be changed for the worse. It is important for the planning board to think of the future of our community, which is built case by case in these decisions. Think of the future, please. Carolyn Ricapito, 53 Parrott Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516. I am a neighbor on Parrott Street. I have no problem with adding a half bath to the main house. However, adding also a bathroom / kitchenette for the ADU concerns me. I don't know that the sewer system, I'm downhill, is up to that much more water and sewer use. We have had problems before with the sewer line, which runs down the middle of the backyards, I believe, especially worrisome if the ADU would be fully occupied year-round. I'm also concerned about building so close to the back lot line and covering up open space with more construction. There is a very large tree in this backyard, and it would be a big loss to the environment if they were to cut that down to fit this addition. While I know there is a shortage of reasonable housing, and this is a popular area for Airbnbs, if everyone followed suit and got permission to expand an ADU in their backyard, the area would start to feel very congested. Sincerely, Maria Ricapito.
Thank you. One thing that I'll point out before we proceed on to public comment is further public comment. There is another zoning chapter for the short-term rental laws that govern Airbnbs. For anyone who's interested in what's allowed and what's not and how that's regulated, there's that's in active revision, I believe, as well, Jonathan.
I believe so.
Yeah, so the village board is paying very close attention to that, partly because they are concerned about overuse of short-term rentals. Balanced against that is the use of ADUs for multi-generational living to accommodate parents who are, we would like them to, for the most part, age in place if possible. That's something that was expressed by the village residents the last time the comprehensive plan was updated. And that was worked its way into the updates to the zoning law in order to accommodate multi-generational living throughout the village. So just some context for folks as we jump into it. Okay, I'll start with folks in the room. We'll get to you online afterwards. Would anyone in the room like to give comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Roger Jericho, 43 Parrot Street, Cold Spring, New York.
Welcome, Roger.
I have a few concerns. I agree with the letter, second letter you read. My main concern is the sewer, the pipe. I've lived on Parrot Street for 46 years, or 56 years, I'm sorry. And I've had some time at the village. I've been a mayor, past mayor. I've been a trustee, so I'm kind of aware of the situation we have on Parrot as far as the sewer goes. I agree with that letter there, that sewer pipe is clay pipe. I believe it's giving you 6 inches, it's 6-inch pipe anyway. Clay bell and spigot. It's gotta be, I would say, possibly 200 years old. And since I've been there, I've had a problem paying for the damages of backups in my basement. I don't know if you're aware of how that pipe works, but every other two houses come to a joint venture. Do you know that?
Please address the board.
All right. Yes. So anyway, there's a problem of one backup that backs into the other one in the basement. I'm at 43, so 41 and I are partners.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it works as it goes down the street. Now, I know in the past, nobody's ever notified anybody that what structures are built on there or not to build a structure. And I know the responsibility came on the landowner, me, myself personally, and others that were there. They did dig in the backyards of some and try to put a clean out pipe up through the yard, which sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Now, a clay pipe, from my past history, I'm in that business all my life, will not take the aggravation of rotor, what is 200 years old. So my point is, who's gonna take the responsibility if we add more to this pipe? And there's any kind of damage above or below or to the other people involved, like myself. I've had situations where it cost me a good amount of money, where the villagers never taken responsibility. Now, we pay sewer tax, got nothing to do with this meeting, so I don't even want to get into that. But there is no clean outs. If they are, they're you're on your personal property. And some of them are in that situation where you can't get the equipment in there to clean them. So you have to do it from in the house. This is a major problem with the sewer. We're gonna add to it. You know what I mean? It can become a responsibility of somebody else and not yourself.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anthony Patino, 40 Parrot Street, Cold Spring, New York. Roger's concerned are very viable. All right. And I didn't realize earlier when I asked the question that, you can have 2 building parcels on one lot. Before that, you could not do it. It was denied by many residents. In fact, some residents actually moved because they couldn't do it. And I mentioned we got sued, but I didn't realize the law was changed. So the law is the law. But like Roger's mentioning about the sewer line, we also, when I was on the village board, passed a law that you can't piggyback off of one resident to another. In other words, if you were going to put an accessory apartment in, say for a mother or a father that needed a place to live, we called it a hardship, okay? And the hardship also stated that you couldn't piggyback. In other words, this accessory building should have its own separate sewer line and should have its own separate water line. I don't know if that's in the works. I'm not sure, because if you were gonna put another sewer line in and another water line, that sewer line shouldn't be a burden on the people that are already there. That sewer line should go out the front of the house and connect on Parrot Street like the other side of the street is. Parrot Street's a little weird. I don't know if you people realize it. On my side of the street, I have my own sewer line. On the other side of the street, everybody shares a sewer line and it's wide in. So if his house backs up, the guy next to him gets backed up too. And the sewer lines run through everybody's backyard. So my point is, if this accessory building is passed, okay, it should be a separate sewer line and it should be a separate water line. And it should come out the front of the building, not through people's backyard, which is the way it is now. They all go through the people's backyard, the owner's backyard.
Can I speak further?
Would you mind if we get to everyone first and then we'll come back?
So that's big. And the other,
I'm just listening.
the last question I'll have right now is, the planning board advises the village board, correct? The village board makes the decision or you make the
So
decision?
we make the decision about whether to approve the application
Okay,
as written.
okay.
So the village board's role is they decide what the zoning law is and they work with the public to approve changes to that. And then we work within that.
Okay, good, thank you.
So my question is,
Please state your name and address for the record.
Helen Smiros, 42 Parrot Street. Once you approved for this person, and he says his relatives are gonna be living in, his mother, his father, his uncle, whatever. But they decide to move. What do you do with this project? You just rent it to other people.
It's again, the short-term rental law is a whole separate chapter which governs what is allowed to be done with, and I believe actually is the ADUs don't qualify under the short-term rental law.
No, they don't.
So it wouldn't be allowed to be rented.
How do you know?
That's the law.
That's the law, but when something like this happens,
Yeah.
he already has the option. It's there.
Well, so the great thing about the law is that if someone's breaking it, you can come and report it to the village and the village can shut it down.
The option don't work.
It does, I don't know if it's really working, because once you can do this, you're making another house, a little house. And this is supposed to be a garage. And then you bring in a car. And then you bring in another car. And we already parked with cars. You can even park your own car if you want to, because everybody comes. I can understand if you have visitors, they're gonna come and live. But these people, they're gonna be there forever. And if they're not living, the relatives, other people they're gonna be living. So what is that? You're giving somebody an option to make money.
We're not. That's not an option here. That would be breaking the law, and if they broke the law, the village would have every right to sue them. So it's important here that we work within the structures of the law that we have, because as soon as we say that the laws don't matter, then everything this board does, everything the village board does, everything that the village residents are trying to live by, it goes out the window, and none of it works. So I think we have to work with the assumption that the law is something that's meaningful and the village has an investment to upholding the law. And I believe that. I know the village board members, they have a vested interest in upholding that. For the same reason, for the same concerns that you have. One of the reasons why the ADU law was passed the way that it was, and the short-term rental law was also passed the way that it is to separate out those concerns and to help protect residents who just earnestly want to care for a parent from those who want to make money.
Well, this street is historic street.
Yep.
We all bought a house there. I'm living there since 1981. And I like it the way it is. It's all single-family homes. They're all practically know one another. They're all looking for one another. And I'm concerned.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your concern.
Catherine Bogardus, 46 Parrot Street. We've had other residents who've had had additions to their homes for their parents as well. Not taking another separate building for an ADU. But I have the same concern as Helen. I'm very much against short-term rentals on Parrot Street. You know, having strangers on, all of us here are widows. We live alone. And so it just, it's a little frightening to us with our safe street to have a possible, whether ADU is set for this family is fine, but if they sell and the next occupants who come in, they see that garage as an apartment and sees as, you know, dollar signs. You just have to go into Verbo or you know, other short-term rental sites, and there is no way that the law for Cold Spring short-term rentals are being adhered. I don't think there is a person in charge to making sure that the short-term rental laws are being followed strictly. So, you know, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
There, and I have a strong opposition for that purpose. I think what Roger is saying about the sewer line, I mean, even on our side of the street, Helen, Tony, and I, and Ann, our water and sewer lines, it's still in question. That's old as well. We have issues with it, and if something goes wrong, we have to pay for it. Yeah, and so on that side where it's even more delicate, I think that's a primary concern that the planning board should take into consideration.
Thank you for that. I'll encourage everyone who's interested in the short-term rental law, the village board, I think they're having hearings or have.
I don't believe so, not yet, yeah.
Okay.
I can just say that I had volunteered to be part of the short-term rental committee.
Yeah.
And I was denied.
It may have been full. Sometimes those things can fill up.
I think it was intentional, but that's my personal opinion.
In terms of enforcement, the village is also, I believe, looking into automated means for helping to monitor those things so that it's a lot for a single person to just kind of scan the listings every day. But there are services that help provide that. Thank you for comment.
And Richard, 48 Carrot Street. So there's gonna be an addition put on the back, added on to what's there presently. So we're talking about the whole backyard then, correct?
No, it's let's see, what are the actual dimensions of the extension?
There's certain percentage that has to be allowed.
So it's not the whole backyard, but it's.
Almost. You might have like 6 feet away from Jessic's backyard.
Yeah, it has the offset. I think the offset on the back offsets. You go to the conformance table you got.
I had gotten the impression it was just gonna be the garage itself that was gonna be turned into a living quarters for a parent or a relative of some sort.
Yeah.
Not that it was gonna have an addition added on to that space.
Yeah.
I mean, with that pool there, that's there now, which technically should have a fence completely around it because of law purposes. And getting back to the sewer line will be right there at the end of their driveway. The neighbor next door and their driveway, that sewer line is right there. So they're gonna run into a problem with that also. And another water line will have to be added to this present. So you'll have another unit besides the unit that they have now.
Thank you.
Can I speak now?
Sure, you can speak before we go on to the online folks.
I don't know if you know it or not, but there's two separate lines on Parrot Street. The one line is in our backyard and one line is in the street. The one on the eastern part, people live on the eastern part, they're in the street. All us on the western are in the backyard. Like she said, the elevation, like he was talking about, to put a sewer line into the main trunk line would have to be another tap. I'm talking to you, but I know he's listening. Being I've been in this business for this amount of time, I've been there a long time too. I'm aware of what happens over there, and the water line would be the same. You know what I mean? So the village in years past, we had a tremendous time here with water pressure. We raised the tanks at the elevation up at the reservoir, to get pressure in the village. But these are things that are in the past, and that's why I'm here tonight. I don't want to see them to continue to go downhill and the burden become on the taxpayer. When we can talk about these things beforehand.
Thank you. All right, let's move to folks online. Maybe you can just visually raise your hand on your screen if you would like to speak. I think is that Luke?
Hi there, my name is Letitia Duarte McCubry. I live at 45 Parrot Street, directly next to the proposed addition. We have been living there for 3 years, and we moved from the city. And the thing that I really, when we came into the home, before we were able to even view it, we came in through the backyard. We went down past Roger's house. We came in around, and I looked up. I saw the house. I saw the stone garage, the forsythia, the trees. I looked up and I was like, I didn't even want to live in the town. My husband Luke did. I wanted to live in the woods. And I was like, this is a way we can straddle that. I have this country feel, but I'm in a town. I'm in a community, but I have some space. And so that was my instinct of wow, this is so beautiful. I can live here. And it was a hurdle for me because I wanted to be in the woods. So those trees and that forsythia is the backdrop that sold me on my backyard, which is part of why I bought that house. I am so in favor of multi-generational living. I absolutely want to keep our new neighbor's family together. And I understood when the house was purchased that they were going to renovate and they were going to finish the garage. I was completely shocked when I saw the extent of the proposed addition. It is not a renovation, it's an addition. It's more than doubling the space. It's a 30 foot by 20 foot extension, which completely lines the entire length of my backyard, removing all the forsythia, the cedar tree. I'd like to point out that rendering is not to scale because that cedar tree at the base is over 5 feet, which means it has to be completely removed. And they will only be 5 feet from the back fence to the door. So just to point that out, because it does not appear to scale to me. And I think there's a way we can maybe meet in the middle. Maybe it's not so radical of an addition where the whole backyard, because I know you're saying it's not the whole backyard, but half the backyard is a pool right now. And then you're taking all of the privacy and the natural charm. And that is a concern to me. This is the backdrop of my life, of my children's life. Not to mention the privacy of windows that just directly look into our backyard where my children's play structure is. So yeah, I thought we were just renovating the existing garage. I didn't realize, because it was never discussed, that it was this full-on addition. The basement of the existing home can be finished. There's a space for a bedroom. There's a space to put in a kitchen. There's a bathroom. I'm surprised that we're not just like that the renovation is not using the physical space of the home that's already there. So, you know, that's something I was just completely shocked by. And I also want to say I completely agree with all my amazing neighbors. Like, the sewage directly will affect us. We will be the ones that it gets backed up into. Then I'm going to have to tear up my backyard and deal with the smell of sewage while we have, so like that has to be mitigated. That has to be directly addressed. The proximity, yes, 5 foot is like the conforming to all the like, you know, these are the regulations. It doesn't mean it's nice. I'm losing the country feel. I'm losing that nature. It's a bummer, man. And I don't, you know, maybe it can be half the size, you know, like I want the family to stay together. I'm not trying to split the family up, but maybe there's a way that it doesn't just have to be so big. And I'd like to point out about the parking, because I know I spoke with the previous owner. Even though you guys haven't rendered that there's a second parking, I've never, ever seen a car parked there. And when I actually asked Barbara about it, the previous owner, she said modern cars don't fit there anymore. So even though you've rendered it, I think you would have to have like a smart car or fold in the windows. Like, I don't think you can physically fit a car in that drive yard as a second parking. So I'd like to point that out. We have a second car and we have to infringe on the hydrant because there's nowhere for us to park. Like, parking is kind of a thing on our street. And so I do think it's not worth ignoring. And I just like, yeah, long term, you know, generations change, and eventually I guess the addition would be used for children, and like that's cool, but I don't know, I just think it's quite big. And the last thing I'd like to say is that there was a radon mitigation system that was installed in the house, and it has been an absolute disturbance. And we've been trying to resolve it like super amicably. We really want to be loving and welcoming to our new neighbors. I've had huge reservations about even speaking. You can hear I'm emotional. I feel conflicted about voicing these concerns, but I'd be remiss not to, given that this directly affects my property, the value of my property, the feeling of community, the feeling of the street. And the way that the radon mitigation system has been handled, it's extremely loud. We've tried to solve it. It's a little bit unsightly. And I'm like, how is the house going to be less of an infringement? And visually, the current garage is so charming and beautiful. And yes, only 1 foot from my property line. It's like right there. It's grandfathered in and I love the way it looks. The addition is not, no offense, it seems pretty stock standard. The siding, I know you're keeping the charm of the existing structure, but I don't think we're enhancing it by adding just something with like siding. And I don't see like, from the renderings, I don't see leaning into that. Like perhaps the extended addition could also be stonework, where that masonry and that stone masonry is incorporated, because that's beautiful and lovely to look at. So, you know, I'm a very visual person, and I don't love looking at like the elbow on the mitigation and the muffler for the radon mitigation. I don't want to look just like at a wall of siding and that to be the backdrop of my life, literally. So, you know, these are my concerns, and I would love to find a path forward where all of us as a community can be happy with the path forward, and I would like the family to stay together. So, you know, is there a middle road? Is there something we can do to keep together? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think, Patricia, you've raised your hand. You're muted.
I was saying you could let other people go first. I was going to answer some of the things because I'm the one that's going to be living in the ADU. So.
Okay.
We could wait
All
till.
right, we'll come back to you. Thank you. Who would like to speak next online? David?
Hi, good evening. I'm David Breen. I live at 35 Parrot Street. First off, I would just like to second, third, or fourth all of the views of my neighbors. I agree with all of the points that have been raised so far. I think I, like many, didn't appreciate the recent changes to the zoning rules, particularly with regard to setback requirements. So that's good to know for future reference. I think my question is related to the building coverage calculation. And I think, well, first specifically, building coverage versus lot coverage. I assume that's deliberate here as it's expressed as building coverage, but maybe if you could just confirm that distinction.
Jonathan, the lot coverage is from structures, right? Yeah. So basically you take the footprint of any structures as defined in the code on the lot, and you subtract that from the total area lot to get the coverage.
Right. So I guess my ultimate question then is the pool and the adjacent patio, sort of all of the impermeable surfaces that are in the backyard, they're excluded from that calculation?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So I think my primary concern in that case then is that given the intent of recording and preserving lot coverage is to maximize permeable surfaces, right? This yard as proposed is essentially going to be entirely impermeable, right? And I think, given the intent as said is to maximize permeable surfaces and considering the number and intensity of bad weather events that we've had over recent time and naturally going to continue, I think I'd just like to voice a concern that permitting this development would only kind of exacerbate what is already a pretty poor condition.
Thank you, David. Allison, I think, and Maria, would either of you like to speak? Maria?
This is Allison for 1 sec. I'm just saying that I don't wish to speak. I'm just observing.
Okay. Thank you.
And
go ahead, Maria.
Sent a letter in, which was read, so I don't need to speak. But I just want to say that what we were sent in the mail didn't mention anything about that this was for a relative. And I also am very encouraging of having, extended families live together. But the sewage issue and the water issues for me remain. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak online or in person?
Sure.
Hi, go ahead.
I'm Sam Zimmerman at 47 Parrot Street. Thank you all for voicing your concerns, many of which I understand. I'm not familiar with the sewage problem and the concern. I am unsure how we can be of help to that, but I'm absolutely willing to be part of the conversation. I also very much understand the concerns around short-term rentals. That is not something we are interested in or have ever been interested in. The purpose of this, as stated, is very much multi-generational living. My parents would be occupying the ADU. They are and have been long-term Cold Spring residents for, just about 20 years. They lived on Orchard Street, they lived on Main Street. All three of my younger sisters went to Haldane. So this is very much in service of continuing Cold Spring community, bringing my family, my wife and our son here, and us living together, building something lovely on the property and keeping the spirit of which I think a lot of the concerns are about alive. It's very much our hope. Should my parents ever leave the ADU, again, we have no interest in short-term rental, either surreptitiously or applying for it. We would likely use that space as some sort of studio or office. but we don't have an interest in getting money off the property in any form of rental. That is absolutely not the case here. I also hear the concerns about the land. The trees we find especially beautiful. We've done surface value investigation about moving them, not removing them. It's something we would very much like to do. We don't want to get rid of a lot of the beautiful aspects of the property, and whatever we can move and whatever we can keep, we absolutely will. Even knowing that might come at an intense cost, but we know how kind of stunning it is to look at, both, of course, from our perspective, because we're moving into the home, but also our neighbors' perspective, who have been seeing these beautiful trees for many, many more years than we have. So we share that concern about removal and aren't interested in getting rid of things. The extension size, I understand this may have come as a shock, and I'm very happy to talk about how we can mitigate any concerns there, either here or as we continue in conversation. But, you know, at least one window on the side that would face our next door neighbor's property is much smaller. It's not a large overlook into their backyard. We are very much interested in community and privacy and where those two things meet as well. So really, this is in service of loving and multi-generational living, two occupants of which have been long-term residents of Cold Spring, and 3 of which will be new to the town. So thank you, and appreciate your concerns, and appreciate everyone looking at the application.
Thank you. Patricia, would you like to speak now?
Hi, thanks. Sam is my son. And Letitia, I just wanted to speak to your point, being, you know, my husband and I will be living there. We could do everything possible to make it as nice looking on your side as possible. And like Sam said, we were already thinking of moving that tree and anything that's valuable, because we wouldn't want it to be erased. I would hate that tree not to be there. And there is already one window in the garage, but on the addition, we could put them up high so they won't look out on your yard, or, you know, Ethan has a lot of different ideas. And we're trying to make it as beautiful as possible for everybody. So that's really all I've got to say.
Thank you, Patricia. It's not just the one tree, the forsythia as well. Like, it's just a wall of beautiful, we're losing a green wall. So if there's a way of integrating that, but keeping the green wall between the properties, I think that's something that should be considered. And it's just the full length. The whole backyard is building for us, from where the garage exists right to the back. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it is large. It was surprising to me how large. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. But
I just got a question. Like,
Sure.
you have 5 feet of setback all the way down the extension. That could be planted out.
Absolutely.
And planted out with all kinds of, fun stuff to help Letitia with her issues. That what's there at the moment is on your property, right? So
Yes.
yeah, right. So it is, you actually do have rights to do whatever you'd like with those trees. But in order to help placate Letitia's concerns here, both for aesthetics, which, you know, I'm a gardener, I'm sure many gardeners in the room, but also the privacy issue. Then there is maybe a planting discussion could happen with your neighbor.
Could I speak briefly to that, or is that out of turn?
Please, sure.
And first of all, thanks everybody for coming. Certainly the specific water sewer concerns, you know, I guess each lot we work on, we learn those limitations. But I wanted to say just more broadly in terms of my professional relationship you know, we really have been looking at here at zoning conformance, but professionally, I have a lot of experience working with water use mitigation. I mean, even though, you know, a small apartment like this, the water use is generally low, but we can look to make sure that there's water conservation techniques. And then as a design firm, as you read out, we're architecture and landscape architecture, and I think speaking both to the pervious surface concern and also to the landscape. Obviously, it's hard to lose what's there, but I think there's definitely real opportunities also to both potentially improve or, you know, I think you described a green wall. I can't speak for what the design intent would be, but I did want to speak just a couple of things in terms of certainly materials. The materials in terms of how they're shown is, other than I think a real commitment to maintaining the stone, there haven't really been any the stone and the slate, I'm sorry, on the existing, there haven't been any distinct material choices made. So those are essentially kind of still in progress, because this was really looking at the zoning conformance. But so that's all in progress. I think I'm always reticent to show kind of early renderings, because they're just that, and they don't really necessarily get across the artistry that can come in the actual construction.
Thank you. Got one more quick thought, and that is for the windows that I'm sure that we are permitted to make.
I want to
design advice.
Well, I think we're
However,
it is part of the site plan, and I think it is within our purview to suggest or make requests.
it's just those 2-bedroom windows. If they were placed at a height and or possibly could be opaqued out. Just thoughts about increasing the privacy issue.
So I just brought it up. I'm not saying that this is necessarily mitigating the concerns, but that as Sam pointed out, the larger window there, Mark C, is existing, and we were showing at this point, they're not needed for egress, but we're showing those smaller, higher up windows on the.
Right. So how high can they go?
They're really they're sort of for light, so they're not egress windows, so there's no.
So my 2 cents would be, can they go as high as possible?
Yeah.
And again, maybe have a discussion with your neighbor. I just think that we're in an area here that a lot could be done. I think the design is sound, but a lot could be done to take into account a lot of Letitia's concerns.
For zoning conformance chart, is there any minimum setback for living quarters in reference to pools?
No.
There's not, so it could butt up as close to a residential as, so there's no, okay.
Right, yeah.
I just wanted to see if that was possibly an issue.
Sorry, you just reminded me, because I know, Anne, you brought up the fence around the pool.
Yes.
That's one of the things that's been on our minds since we closed on the house, and is something we're actively
But
investigating.
you have small children.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to address.
Does anyone else have questions?
So, I mean, so the ADU cannot be by code, by law, cannot be turned into a rental.
A short-term.
Short-term rental.
Okay, so it could be rented on a 12-month basis.
Sure.
Okay, but not a,
Not as a vacation rental.
not as a vacation rental, okay.
Was there a survey done for sewage and, for the sewer line to make sure that it's able to handle? the
No, not,
excess that
not,
would be-
not this far.
Is that something that
Is this
would
something
be
we
done?
can- Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so,
Do we need to get advice from the,
so what,
from the water?
what I would suggest, so first of all, this is exactly what the public hearings are for. They are for neighbors to come together, share information, share the ways in which they're impacted that may not be obvious to people who are proposing an application. I think we've had a number of concerns that have been voiced tonight that we hadn't thought of as a board or hadn't considered. And what was that?
Excuse me. We didn't even get to concern with parking. on the street. Everybody brought up a different issue. We said we had more than one. One was the sewer, my other concern was the parking.
Understood, but please, let me continue. So my point is that this is part of the point of the public hearings is to share information and to learn new concerns and new facts about the situation that folks may not be aware of. The things that I heard today, concerns about permeable surfaces, something that is very top of mind for the village broadly because of stormwater management. I heard concerns about green wall and privacy. That there would be some willingness to consider, especially given the landscape part of your firm, there's some willingness to potentially design something in. I would suggest the board come up with some suggestions on what additional information or changes to the site plan that we would like to see. And we adjourn the public hearing until next time so we can come back and have that discussion.
So maybe if I could just jump in here, I think now would be a good time to remind the board that because this is an ADU, it's only subject to expedited site plan review, which is limited to access, parking, lighting, and exterior building modifications. So I think as far as any potential stormwater or wastewater issues, that might be outside the board's purview for this application.
And it's sewage as well?
Yeah.
And sewage is not within the purview of this board. Whose board would that be?
It's it would be the building.
But since it-
Can I ask one question?
One
Is
second.
there water in the garage now? Is there a water line in the garage now, or will a new water line have to be? See, I'm water and sewer with the village. I work with Matt, the water superintendent, so I'm aware of all this. So my question is there running water going into that building now? Or are you gonna have to run a whole new water line? So there will be water and then the sewer system.
It's sort of like a utility space, so there's water that's associated with like a spigot and the pool. But I don't have a survey of where exactly the plumbing runs.
But all new plumbing would have to go into the.
Absolutely.
There's a pool filter right behind the garage. Currently.
Yeah, that's outside closet.
Just a reminder, please address comments to the board.
Right, but there is a water line.
There's a water line to the building now.
Okay.
Well, can I just ask, so the purview of the sewer is not, it wouldn't be for this board, but.
It would be, yeah, I mean, to get a building permit, the applicants would have to, submit everything to the building inspector and they would determine whether or not that meets the applicable code.
So the real question is conformance to the site plan is building height,
The bulk requirement.
Right, there's the bulk requirements, and there's these 5 other things, access, parking, lighting, and exterior building modifications.
But even though there's an addition being put on, just because it's not considered to be you know, like a new structure, I guess, because it's.
Well, so the code carves out accessory apartments.
For expedited specifically.
Right, but included in that is a
New
build out.
construction, yes.
So if you had any structure that you just wanted to put an addition on, then it would be subject to expedited review instead of a full review. Okay, thank you.
I think privacy would fall into that.
Yeah,
category.
I think the landscaping definitely does,
Okay.
the impervious surfaces and the.
All right,
sewer
so
issue.
what I'll propose to the applicant is that we have the things that we would like to see more information about. I think it would help your neighbors better understand what is likely to be there at the end of all this. You've heard a number of concerns tonight. You are not required to address any of the concerns about water permeability or anything like that. But I would suggest that if you would like to provide that information to the board, also around sewer, if you'd like to provide that information to the board would find that super useful. It is not a requirement. With that, I will again suggest that we adjourn the public hearing until next time, with the request that some of those additional details about the materials being used for the facade, the location of the windows for privacy, the location of greenery for privacy, and any movement of trees be kind of in the site plan, so that we can kind of further consider that and the public can see that subdivision.
And also the viability, someone brought up that they didn't think that the parking spaces were large enough for physical cars to be put in, to make sure that that was.
There are minimum requirements
Yeah.
for parking
And
spaces.
does that mean, I just want to see, does that meet?
It's a code issue.
I looked quickly and it looks like it's.
I have that
It
there.
does meet that, okay.
It
all right,
appears,
good.
it's 9, it's shown as 9 feet wide,
Nine by
So if it's the scale, then.
I mean, honestly, I could-
Well, that was one of the concern that they had, I just want to make sure that we were.
I showed two, but I could show four.
All right, I just want to make sure that it fit the requirement.
Can I ask a question before we move too far on, because,
Can I only ask?
yeah,
So the 5 foot setback, you feel we have the right to have an opinion on what happens in that? Or once they have defined a building that meets the 5 foot setback, then they have done their thing?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question, so.
This idea of greenery
That's
and.
within our purview, that's why we're
Okay.
asking.
Okay,
So
thanks.
you could suggest or request that the applicant
Okay.
put, some screening vegetation maybe in the
Okay.
setback space.
Yeah,
can I ask just before we move too far on, because when we talked about the expedited site review, you discussed access, parking, lighting, and
Exterior modifications.
so can I be clear? So exterior modifications essentially refers to the entire addition?
I think it really refers to like the siding, the windows, lighting, that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Not, not to say the size of the addition or anything like that.
so,
Jesus Christ.
because I'm trying to be clear, because,
please be patient.
I just so I understand what you're describing is, so I'm happy to look, obviously at some point, always we would be looking more into the planting and potentially the exterior materials on the addition, but you're saying that those are potentially material to the planning board application?
Yes.
Okay. And then specifically well, obviously on the addition, in terms of the materials, but then in terms of the planting, I'm assuming you're thinking
as they relate to the addition.
Yeah.
Okay, and then lighting, I think we hadn't gotten into that, but I can add that in, or if that's not, hasn't been brought up.
Definitely, if there's going to be new exterior lighting, please, make sure that's explicit.
And then parking, it seems like that is what's being presented clear.
Yeah, that's the code.
Okay, and then similarly, okay, sounds good, thank you.
Would you like to ask another question?
If you have another hearing, are you gonna have an answer on the sewer? Another hearing here? Or are you gonna turn it over to the planning board or something like that?
So this is the planning board.
I mean, the zoning board, I'm sorry.
There's no nonconformity that's happening, so the zoning board wouldn't be involved. And unfortunately, that's not, the sewer is not within the explicit purview of this particular kind of application for the planning board. So it's not a factor that we can
Who
explicitly.
reviews this?
Was that,
Who reviews the problem?
who reviews the sewer?
Sewer, yeah.
The water and sewer department.
You'd have to live on my street to know what I went through in 50 years with the sewer backing up. I'm not against these people having that place. I just don't want to see a problem in the future.
I totally understand, and you have my absolute sympathies
It
for.
doesn't seem to me like you do understand.
There's no lever for me to pull for you here, unfortunately. I would pull a lever if I had it at my disposal, but I don't have a lever to pull.
Well, that's why we have meetings, try to correct these situations before they start.
Yeah.
This, my friends, is a problem, believe me.
Um,
I don't know if the line is big enough for them to add to. I know they gotta put a saddle, another pump, another attachment to the sewer line. There's a lot here involved here.
Yep.
It backs up to other people's houses. It cost me $7,000 the last time to clean out my basement. That's why I want an answer. Who's gonna be responsible? Is the village gonna take over that line? We pay the sewer, we pay just like anybody else. Or they're just gonna say it's 6 inch, it's big enough? Is it big enough? Is the capacity right flow? That's the business I'm in.
Yeah.
I know he's an architect, engineer, whatever. I'm a field man. And I've been around here a long time, believe me.
Thank you.
I know the system. I've been the mayor of this village.
I believe you. I believe you. I believe you know the system.
And Anthony's on the board with me. We're here together. I know what can happen, and so do these people. We've been there a long time together.
I really appreciate both your previous service to the village and your comments here.
Appreciation is one thing.
It is, but it's more than nothing.
Bottom line is gonna be, as far as the sewer and water, the part of the application, that'll be determined by the building inspector when he gives the final permit, correct?
Yes.
And he'll have to go along with the water department's recommendation as far as if the line is big enough, if you wanna go through the backyard again and so on, correct? All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. This is, I think, a very fruitful exchange of information. I really appreciate everyone's investment and involvement. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn public hearing.
And we're leaving it and it leaves it open.
It leaves it
right?
open. We'll
leaves
come
it
back.
open. Okay.
People can continue to make comment.
Is there anything that has to be said on the motion that has to say and leaving it open?
Do we have a date, that we're gonna adjourn it to?
Well, there is no second meeting in November because of the holiday, so it'll be the first meeting in December, which will be
The 12th?
Yes.
yes, the 12th, December 12th.
So you want to make a motion to? and
Well,
you-
for just for first real question, do we have quorum for that day? I am available.
I'm available.
Actually,
Okay, all right, and we have.
he's a backflow restrictor. Backflow restrictor.
All right, let's
So Ben made a motion, I will second, to continue the
To adjourn
adjourn
until
until the 12th of
December
December.
12th. Okay.
So is that considered another public hearing where we need to mail notices? Okay.
Public hearing is, we're open, folks know clearly, You all have been told about the next date, which is December 12th. I hope that, you all attend and hear, what has been added to or changed about the, site plan. All in favor? Aye. All right. So we're adjourned on the public hearing. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, I forget your name.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Get her home. Get her home. will you?
Got your pen that you.
No, that was good. I wanted to say-
Thank you, guys, sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Would like to,
Ethan.
shake off the shoulders for a second.
Swimming stretch.
All right, so we only have one item left on the agenda, which is Hillary's update to the site plan. Not exactly, it's like application
Guidance,
guide.
general guidance.
Jonathan, have you had a chance to look at it at all, or?
I did, and I made, just a few suggestions, I printed copies,
Okay.
so we can. Kevin? Oh, okay, they're just pretty minor, changes, I kind of compared Hillary's draft with the code and tried to make sure everything lines up and we're not asking too much and making sure we're asking enough, so.
Good there.
Just suggestions.
Thank you.
Plus, if you were our lawyer and you didn't mark it up, you wouldn't be doing your job.
That's right.
With a nice, what, 7-size font here for us?
Everybody left us, huh?
Well, the main event was over. They don't want us to stick around for this.
I'm not sure if this was addressed, but I know I think John first mentioned putting the escrow on the
The application.
application.
Yeah.
And then a notice maybe to the property owners as well. I'm not sure if that's.
Sorry, notice to, oh,
For the
for the
community.
application, the
Yeah.
property owners of the application, if they are not already on it.
So like some kind of acknowledgement,
Gotcha.
that the applicant would sign to make
Yes.
sure they understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, those both sound like very reasonable additions to me and would get us out of this ambiguity that has bitten us a couple times this year.
And maybe something that,
We need to make a motion to change that application.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Does anyone have concerns about that change? Ben? So the request, the suggestion from John First, another village lawyer, is that that the formal application, not this guide, formal application include like an explicit note about the collection of the escrow. Basically, I think it's like 1,500 or something.
For site plan approval, yeah.
Yeah. And a box that they check to acknowledge that the building, that
That they're aware of it and.
that the owner of the property is aware of the application and that they are liable if the applicant is not. Yeah, isn't good?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, everyone else?
That's fine. By the way, 40 Main has a for lease sign with a phone number in it.
Well, the website for the gym has said that they are looking for a more suitable property and they are pausing, applications at the moment. So they are still looking for the viable business, but I guess they figured that space wasn't gonna be suitable. For whatever it's worth.
So it sounds like we have agreement to make those changes.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Is that something you wanna? Is that something you'll do, or?
Yeah, I can coordinate with Abigail.
Okay.
Just, I don't know who actually edits the forms or
Okay.
who has the Word document. or
Okay.
whatever, But
All right, great.
That's something that came up here. It's probably not for this document, but I wonder if there's a clarification that can be done for people that are coming to the planning board and basically saying what our limitations are. Because I mean, even today, people are coming in like, you know,
yeah,
like thinking that we could do something about the sewer. I wasn't even sure maybe these things should be spelled out a little bit
Yeah, I mean,
more,
so
you know?
the, unfortunately, this is for the applicant.
I know it's for
And
the
not-
applicants, but,
Not the public.
right, yeah.
I think unfortunately, it's probably falls to us to, be selective about when we kind of remind the public about what our function is.
I'm wondering if in the notice, when it goes out, of what the planning board's purview could be, you know, of what it's, you know, of, you know, this is specifically, you know, like the one that says that, like, you said, since this one was like it was a, what's the,
an ADU.
an ADU, that it was different, and I wasn't aware that the ADU had a difference that it was expedited and we were limited in that, so it might say in the, put notice to the public, this is an expedited review, which
Yeah.
is, you know, and that could be looked up on the website or something, you know, and then.
Yeah, I think that's something we can work into into the notice. I'm not hopeful that it will solve the problem.
No, but at least.
But I agree that it's an easy add, that especially if it's for site plan, we can call out the fact that expedite site plan review, which requires evaluation on these things, because that's something we can enumerate.
And even for us, to say that this is public hearing, it says site plan, it doesn't say expedited site plan review, so if there's a difference for us, we should at least know, even on the agenda or something, to say that it's an expedited review, which then, by that time, I'll know what the difference is.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know today until we got into the meat of it. Okay, thank you.
What did you mean by, oh, like if there is a time where the survey
But
is,
I think that was actually Hillary's comment,
oh.
carried over.
Oh, I see, you,
Yeah, my red lines aren't distinguished, from hers.
gotcha.
But to answer that question, the code doesn't say, so I think as long as it's an
It's a
active.
valid survey, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the survey for my property is from like the 80s, I think. So just on this second page, your comment is about, is a deed necessary? You say yes.
Right.
Always necessary?
Yeah, it's in the code. It's, part of the, maybe not for expedited site plan approval, but, for regular site plan approval,
Gotcha.
that is a requirement. Probably not all that helpful in those cases, but
Yeah.
it's in there, so.
Okay. The only only thing I'm a little worried about including this note about the historic district. Only because I'm worried it implies that we are responsible for that referral, so which we are not.
Sit down.
Like I have opinions, but they're not necessarily right, so I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe it should just be, in addition, please, make sure you're not under the requirements of.
Right.
Of the historical.
Sorry, can you?
Correct.
I was just gonna say, it just as a note, in addition, at the end, in addition, make sure that you are not under the requirements of the historical review board.
It's,
For
yes,
this application.
yes, because of the current application for the beauty parlor. I'm not saying that was necessarily coming under historic review, but in terms of signage and so forth, it would have started to fall under that, and
Yeah.
I think it's really worth flagging that applicants should be aware of historic review board code, and are there either entire building issues or more minor issues,
Yeah,
signage, lighting, etc., that could drop down within historic review board, and that they should be.
maybe it's worth noting that, so generally, if a site plan includes something that clearly indicates a need for a historic review board, I believe the the chief enforcement officer will make that referral, right?
Yeah.
But I agree that the note about like, in the course of evaluating and and potentially iterating on a site plan, that may induce, like, they may come back with an updated site plan, which has not gone before the CEO, that might induce the need to go to
Yeah.
the historic review board. So if there's a way to work that nuance in there.
Yeah, the way it works in practice is you take an application down and the village clerk calls the building inspector, and they have a back and forth, they have a discussion, and then they decide whether it should kick up to historic review board or not. That's actually what happens.
But sometimes, yeah, but sometimes there's stuff that they could do that's within the historic review board area, but they don't need to go there if they're not.
The main thing I'm worried about with
your.
with your original wording is that I don't want to freak folks out, that they need to know in advance that whether they need to be, readers of the code such that their original site plan, they need to know whether or not it induces the requirement to go before the historic review board. Because that is the job of the code enforcement officer, and I'm trying to be mindful of the wording and whether or not it like makes people feel like, oh, this is like, how would I possibly determine that? Like I have to go read the entire historic review board.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Agreed. And then, yeah, and then.
But I think noting that, like, depending on changes to the site plan that occur over the course of workshops.
Right.
Or hearings that may induce requirements to go to either I guess technically go to the zoning board, but we're not gonna tell them to be non-conforming.
Right.
They may end up deciding that the only way they can do something is to be non-conforming.
Right.
So maybe that's a thing to note, is like that basically over the course of application workshop and public hearing, changes to the site plan may necessitate referral to the zoning board or the historic district review board. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Are we officially switching to first, third Monday?
I don't think I haven't been contacted yet, so I don't think we have any confirmation about that.
Or the tree advisory? Who was the planning board switching with?
I think the historic.
No,
It
it
was
wasn't
the HDRB that
HDRB.
wanted to switch, right?
Yeah.
Was it HDRB?
You talked to them, and I'm pretty sure.
That was so long.
And you said that they were gonna reach out to me.
I spoke to Sean, but Sean, I can't remember what Sean said. I'm gonna put you guys all on.
All right.
Maybe one email with, the board chairperson, and everyone can figure out which days they want.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Something else to think about too is, I don't think we have an application deadline right now, do we? In other
Sorry,
words,
what do you mean?
you have to apply a certain number of days before the next meeting to get on the agenda.
Typically, I try to do the Friday before, because it's easier for me, but if it's something,
Well, we can say 5 business days.
before,
Well, it's a Friday, yeah,
Our
for
business
Thursday
days would
night,
be a week.
then Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, it's really up to you guys,
Well, we can do 3 days, I don't care, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I think.
Like,
that's good then.
3 days?
So, but on that note, I mean, something that I don't appreciate is when applicants, but especially architects, start serving up materials to you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, day of.
Right.
That's not cool. And I would
I agree.
absolutely, I'd absolutely say that to them to their face.
Yeah, I
so-
mean,
So what's a reasonable, is it 48
48
hours?
hours?
48 hours?
and a lot of boards even have like 10 days before, the meeting, so, it's really whatever you guys are comfortable with.
What would you like?
yeah, the Friday before works. I think just.
I think publishing guidance is important, and we can be conservative about what we push people to, and then figure out what we're willing to accept after, in reality.
This last minute stuff,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not fair on anybody.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not fair on us, it's not fair on the applicant, it's not fair on the public.
so just so everyone, as a reminder to everyone, not to say that it would be punitive, but a way for dealing with late information is to slow down. So you have the public hearing, you say, we're gonna adjourn the public hearing until next time, because we got new information today.
Right.
Right? So we have lots of levers to pull.
Right.
And if anyone feels that way, then you can make a motion and say, we got a lot of last minute information about this.
Right.
We don't feel like we're prepared. I don't feel like I'm prepared, or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing so the board has time to review.
Right, sure. But also just even standard applications as people are stepping up to the plate for the first time. And the architects are coming in and it's like very like, I'd really prefer like, especially for you, but also for us. I mean, I'm trying to absorb the material. I'm like, and then it's changing. It's like,
Yeah.
like what?
Yeah.
Me trying to figure out like what's changed. It's not okay, so.
And to your point, Abigail's gotta make us all copies, and then we're scrambling to get them right.
She's got better stuff to do.
Well, but then we're getting them right, we're getting them at 6:58, when it's a 7 o'clock meeting, so I mean, that just reiterates the point is that if we had a certain time where we cut it off, then you wouldn't be giving it to us as late as it's not your fault.
Just so you know, if you ever get a hard time from one of these individuals, please let me know.
Yeah, well, also like, I think also like if you get something at 5 PM the day of a meeting, like you could just make a call. If you want to do it and it's easy and you want to print it out, fine. But if you're just like, I don't have time for this, and you come to this board meeting like 2 hours later and say like, look, I would have printed these out, but I only got them at 5. So I think we're perfectly fine dealing with that explicitly.
I don't agree. I think we should have a hard rule. I'm serious.
No, sorry, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm saying that like that is her saying like, I'm not gonna give you, I'm not providing you the new information because I got it late.
I just think we should have a cutoff so that everyone, and stick to it. So the cutoff is Friday before. If you don't have the materials to us Friday before, it's not going in the meeting.
Well, we have to have the meeting because we'll have published the public hearing. We can come into the public hearing and we can say, okay, now that everybody's here, you should know we got new information since the cutoff,
I mean,
and we're gonna.
Unintended consequences.
What was that?
Unintended consequences. I think if you train people to have, behavior, so in other words, Abigail, once or twice, like, it's like, all right, I'll help you out this time.
It'll happen every time.
Yeah.
it'll happen, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Ben. I think you can tell applicants your spot on the agenda is conditioned upon you submitting everything, on this date. And if they don't, then that's on them, and if.
So how does that work with public hearings that have been published and scheduled, like?
You could just adjourn it.
But we still have to, that's my point, is it still has to be it's on the agenda and we have to address it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, so, but then I think we should automatically adjourn it.
That's what I was
Okay,
suggesting
right,
before.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, okay, right. Do we automatically?
But it is a little bit unfair look at all the people that came tonight. And then someone put something late, and then we don't wanna have it, and then all of these people took their Thursday
yeah,
night and we
100%.
say, we're not gonna listen to you at all,
Yeah.
that's also a disservice to the public.
Well,
So we gotta have a balance
it is
there.
also, it is important that everyone is dealing with the right information. So like.
That I agree with, but you saw tonight, like, if we would have said tonight, oh, this guy just gave us a late application, we're gonna adjourn this whole thing, then there would have been a lot of grumbling from the public and say, well, we came here to speak
But I think-
at least a little bit about it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to-
Yeah.
No, I think the point being that we will quickly, we will quickly, get the kind of behavior that we're looking for from the architects. Because at the moment, there's some really sloppy behavior. I don't like it. And I think very quickly they'll figure out if they've got a room full of pissed off people and they're showing up to a meeting and they've basically busted because they haven't had their act together, then the client's not gonna be happy, we're not gonna be happy, it's not gonna look good for them, so. And I think also, when we do create these rules, I think we make it very public, but also we could actually send emails out to, like a bulk email out to all the known architects in the area and say, this is the rule, this is the timing, just so you're aware.
But I completely agree, but I do have a feeling that the public would be, a bit pissed off if they.
I
continually
think
came in.
it's a bit of messaging on my part, which I'm happy to craft, as.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen the opposite before too, where the public shows up and says, oh, we just got this an hour ago, we
Yeah.
can't speak it, that we need more time to review
Yeah.
it.
Right, well, that's definitely true, and then that would give them a point to say this, but I know we all have busy schedules on Thursdays, these people, I'm sure, have busy schedules to make them come back multiple times. And to come one night, change, get babysitters, and all of a sudden, I can't speak, you leave after 5 minutes, then they're gonna be like, oh, this isn't ideal, obviously, So I agree we should have all of it, but we have to think of the public that's taking their time to come to a meeting and expecting to hear a meeting.
Sure.
And just immediately just adjourn it because the applicant was not timely, but,
Moral danger.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was only gonna affect the people that were submitting the application, but it's gonna affect the public as well.
Right.
That's the point I'm making.
Cool, we're gonna be more hard ass for anyone on YouTube who's watching this later. Okay, any other comments about Hillary's draft?
No,
I think
Just
Sure, great work.
one comment at the very end,
Uh-huh.
that says every application is unique and the time
great.
needed, is gonna vary, so we don't
Okay.
want anyone to be under the impression that their application's only gonna take one meeting or two meetings, so.
Great, so we'll come back to this next week, maybe with updated edits and.
Yeah, you guys can, sleep on it for 2 weeks or so.
Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn for the evening?
I will make, oh, wait.
Before we do, I was just gonna say, I do have, the resolution for Jesse to sign for the, massage parlor from the last meeting. I don't think we ever,
The flexology
Yeah.
and, but something.
parlor.
Oh,
that.
oh.
Oh, that's what the village. is about
Reflexology,
now.
sorry, reflexology.
but yes, I have that resolution, for you. I couldn't remember who was here, who motioned in second, so if we have minutes to look back on, great if someone remembers,
When I was here, I usually am someone that.
Is anyone not here?
Sorry?
You were not here, right? Okay, so,
I think I was. I would bet that you made a motion and I seconded it. How about that?
Sounds right to me.
That sounds right? Sounds good. Yeah.
And I know everybody voted yes, so, that part's easy.
Thank God. Yes.
and do we figure out how I'm gonna sign this thing?
I'm sorry?
To sign the site plan?
Oh, well, she's on the email, so I could call her, but the only reason why I prompted that is because I know Al does digital stuff, but I think the planning board and HRB might be a lot more different than I
Yeah.
thought.
I don't know. You have a planning board stamp that you can somehow put on digital plans, I mean, I guess that's okay, but I don't know. I mean, I would think if they're gonna run a business, they have to come here eventually, so.
They have been here twice, because she lives like closer to Long Island, like Queens, Long Island.
Oh, my
No,
God.
the applicant, the business owner, there's a little bit of a language barrier, so.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, you know, they sent us everything digitally and they don't have like full-size plans, so I guess there's no reason we can't just print it and.
Is it fine, that size, 8x11?
Yeah, I mean, that's all they've given us is a PowerPoint
Okay,
basically,
do you
so.
want me to do that now?
Yeah, go.
All right.
Well, not yet, cause they have to pay and everything.
They did.
They did.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
Well, yes, but that depends on what the final is. I mean, they did, you know, like a hypothetical.
Wait,
Hmm?
do we have the final bill from,
No.
okay, then,
Okay, yeah, so
okay,
we gotta
then
wait
we're not there yet.
All right.
Well, but no, it's sweet, just let me know when they paid, and, but I sounds like you just need to get the final bill.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
I'll have our billing person send that in.
So.
All right, submitted application, July 23rd. Do we need to make a note about, the fact that that they had identified a proxy on the application, or is it?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so, yeah.
Okay. Could be one, in the Village Historic District. Personal shots permitted. Site plan approval. No, not proposing exterior well. Do you consider lighting changes to the exterior modifications?
I mean, I guess, yeah, it's kind of, a personal interpretation of the word modification.
Okay.
But in this sense, I would say no.
Okay. Number of off-street parking spaces required, is 2. Like there is room. Type 2 secra. Public hearing was held September 12th, and we stayed open until October 24th. We did. Standing stuff, approval of any signage. Well, that's interesting. The second part, I thought we got to a place where we didn't think there was any signage that needed approval.
I don't think there is, and I was trying to word it in a way that basically just says, if you do need HDRB approval, you have to get it. The planning board's not approving anything beyond what the code allows without HDRB approval.
Okay. All right, I'm not gonna quibble with that. All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so if you want, you can sign and give that copy.
Thank you. Sorry. Sure. Putting pins in my pocket. Today is the
14th, right?
Thank you.
Now I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second
So do we need to fill in that top part still?
Almost
Alright, so Ben was not here.
Ben was absent, and then everyone else voted yes.
It's a little bit blurry. I couldn't read the names.
What?
I just see us, no, I'm just saying that the video.
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
a
like
little bit blurry. It's a little blurry.
The video?
You want a high res camera? You
No,
want
I'm
to
just
see yourself in HD?
Yeah.
I'm good with the kind of Vaseline
Yeah,
one
they- yeah,
personally.
also so they can carry the, you know, filter
think this
screen,
whole
you know,
time
carry
phone stopping me
the-
look 15 pounds lighter.
I'm a fidgeter.
Making us look better.
Yeah,
Gail did
so
that on
you gotta look
purpose.
good.
Yeah.
So should I still, do I need to make another?
Hold on, let's have
Well, we'll
a,
just
fill it out.
You guys wanna? Is this for when it happened or right now?
That's for when the verbal,
And that was you motion and you approved?
Yeah, I
Yes.
seconded. He
Yes.
made the motion and I seconded.
Um.
I remember it vividly.
Nightmares.
You're right.
And this is number 2,
I never thought that one would end.
number 2,
That was
resolution number 2.
9:45, yeah.
Belvedere was
And it was-
resolution number 1.
I'm sure it'd be more than two. Should be more than two.
Well, we, even though the applications were.
We did,
Sorry. You sure? Yeah, you got it?
we did the one for, the thing is I haven't, like, I thought, I haven't stamped, I've only stamped one,
Yes.
but.
we've done a resolution.
We've done resolutions before.
Yeah.
Do they qualify?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That part's not so important. We can
Okay,
figure that out, at a later date, but.
all right.
John wants to go home, everybody.
No, I get it. Oh, now he wants to go home.
9 o'clock's my limit.
Yeah.
I am about to turn to a pumpkin, so.
For the love of God,
Well,
someone
Ben-
make a motion.
Well, I think we already made.
I'd like to make a motion to
Sure.
adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Ben, we were saying last time we went to about 9:45, so if you're turning it
Yeah.
to a pumpkin now.
Oh,
you missed
there
the
was-
big line.
That's why I missed, that's why I didn't come to that one.
Yeah, I know.